Of World War II, out the millions caught in the crossfire, historians estimate only 165 people experienced both atomic bombings. But only one man in history holds the Japanese government's official title of Nichu Hibakusha, a twice-bombed person. That man was Tsutomu Yamaguchi. On August 6, 1945, Yamaguchi was a 29-year-old naval engineer working at the Mitsubishi shipyard in Hiroshima. It was the final day of a grueling 3-month business trip, and he was eager to finish up his work and catch a train back home to his wife and infant son. He was just a regular guy hoping to sleep in his own bed. He had no idea his morning commute would put him at the epicenter of the world's first nuclear attack. Around 8:15 a.m., as Yamaguchi walked toward the shipyard, he heard the drone of an aircraft. Looking up, he spotted an American B-29 bomber cruising high above the city, dropping a small object attached to a parachute. Seconds later, the uranium bomb known as Little Boy detonated. The sky instantly erupted in a blinding flash, like a massive magnesium flare. He was less than 2 miles from ground zero. He barely had enough time to dive into a ditch before the shockwave hit. The immense pressure sucked him out of the trench, spun him like a tornado, and launched him through the air into a nearby potato patch. He woke up in total darkness, choked by falling ash. Both of his eardrums were ruptured. His face and forearms were covered in severe burns. Yamaguchi had survived a nuclear epicenter, but his ordeal was only in its opening minute, the start of a relentless 72-hour nightmare. The following morning, Yamaguchi began a terrifying commute through a devastated Hiroshima. He navigated a completely flattened landscape, crossing rivers choked with floating bodies, and climbing over the twisted wreckage of melted bridges. He eventually reached the train station and squeezed into a carriage packed with bewildered, burned survivors. The train then began an overnight journey south, carrying him back to his hometown of Nagasaki. While Yamaguchi traveled in a daze, the rest of the globe was just waking up to the reality of the weapon. 16 hours after the blast, U.S. President Harry Truman announced to the world that they had harnessed the basic power of the universe. Yamaguchi finally arrived home on August 8th. Swathed in bandages and burning with a fever, his burns were so severe that when his mother first saw him, she accused him of being a ghost. He had dragged himself through hell to reach the ultimate safety of his family home. He had no way of knowing the United States had a secondary target list. The very next morning, August 9th, Yamaguchi defied his massive injuries, dragged himself out of bed, and reported for work at the local Mitsubishi office. Around 11 a.m., he sat in a meeting with his company director, giving a full report on the total destruction in Hiroshima. His boss flatly called him crazy, refusing to believe that a single bomb could wipe out an entire city. Right as Yamaguchi tried to explain himself, another iridescent white flash lit up the room, and the office windows shattered inward. The U.S. had just dropped a second, even more powerful plutonium bomb called Fat Man. Nagasaki wasn't even the primary target that day. The bomber was supposed to hit Kokura, but heavy cloud cover forced the pilots to divert south. But this time, local geography helped shield him. Nagasaki is built on hills and valleys, which deflected and muffled the expanding blast wave. Inside the office, Yamaguchi was further protected by a reinforced concrete stairwell, which absorbed the brunt of the remaining pressure. He absorbed another massive dose of radiation, but the precise mathematical convergence of the hills outside and the concrete inside kept him alive through a second nuclear blast. Fleeing the ruined office, he rushed to check on his wife and son, and found them entirely safe. His wife had been out looking for burn ointment to treat his Hiroshima injuries. When the Nagasaki bomb detonated, that errand had placed her and the baby deep inside a tunnel. If he hadn't been hurt in the first blast, his family likely would have died in the second. In the days following the surrender of Japan, Yamaguchi's double dose of radiation caught up with him. His hair fell out, his wounds turned gangrenous, and he began vomiting constantly. Yet, against all medical odds, he slowly recovered. He went on to live a long, seemingly normal life, having 2 more children and resuming his career as an engineer. But despite his unique survival story, he rarely spoke of it. For decades, his family actually begged him to keep his history a secret. Their reasoning was deeply tied to the other victims. If a man who survived 2 atomic bombs looked healthy and lived a full life, people might assume nuclear weapons weren't actually that terrifying. They worried his resilience would completely undermine the suffering of the hundreds of thousands who died agonizing deaths. So Yamaguchi stayed quiet. He carried the psychological burden of 2 apocalyptic events entirely alone, choosing silence to protect the legacy of those who perished. That silence held until his 80s. After losing both his wife and his son to cancer, a likely delayed result of the radiation exposure, Yamaguchi finally broke his silence and wrote a memoir detailing everything he saw. In 2006, he journeyed to New York and stood before the United Nations, pleading with the global community for complete nuclear disarmament. He finally accepted that his survival carried a massive responsibility. Having experienced atomic bombings twice and survived, "It is my destiny to talk about it," he told the assembly. "I experienced the bomb twice. I sincerely hope that there will not be a third." Tsutomu Yamaguchi died in 2010 at the age of 93. He is the only person officially recognized as a twice-bombed survivor, a man who spent his final years working to ensure his experience remains a historical anomaly that is never repeated.